What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another deck profile, and today I have column control Mekk-Knights. So what do I mean by column control? Well, if you guys don't know, all the Mekk-Knights have the same effect where if there's two or more cards in the same column, you can special summon them from the hand. They can be normal summoned, so don't worry. However, you're not really going to be normal summoning that much. And they're archetypal, or I say archetypal, but they're world legacy cards, but their continuous spells and traps all have to do with if X card type is in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster, negate its effects, and you're gonna try and control the board via your columns. And with that being said, I'm gonna get right into the deck profile. Starting us off, we have 3 copies of Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. Purple Nightfall has the effect, or has a quick effect where you can banish a face-up Mekk-Knight you control until your next standby phase, and then you search from your deck to your hand another Mekk-Knight monster. Then we've got 3 copies of Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. Blue Sky, whenever it's summoned, you can search or you can add World Legacy or Mekk-Knight World Legacy cards or Mekk-Knight monsters from your deck to your hand equal to the number of cards your opponent controls in the same column as the card, or as where this card was summoned. Then we have 3 copies of Mekk-Knight Indigo Eclipse. Indigo Eclipse is your main control monster when you have like somewhat established continuous spells and traps, because he has a quick effect to target a Mekk-Knight and move it to a new column. So he moves your stuff around so you can have negates. You can only do it once per turn, but still being able to move your stuff around in order to negate something important is pretty good. And like I said, the whole aim of this is to give your opponent very little freedom on where to place their cards. So if you can get a Indigo Eclipse established and your opponent only has 2 free columns or 1 free column to use, you just have this to negate whatever they try to play in their free column. And then for the less than play set numbered Mekk-Knights, we have 2 copies of Red Moon. Red Moon can banish a Mekk-Knight from your graveyard to destroy a monster in the same column as himself. Then we have 1 copy of Yellow Star, which does the same in order to destroy a spell or trap. And then the ones with the effects that we don't really care about is 1 Green Horizon and 1 Orange Sunset. You really have these in here for names because their field spell has options that it can go with. And that is it for the column-based Mekk-Knights. Now we get into the other Mekk-Knights. That being 3 copies of Girsu, the Orcas Mekk-Knight, who on normal summon foolishes a Orcas or World Legacy card from your deck to the graveyard, and if you control no other cards, you summon a token to both players' fields. And so what he allows you to do is you normal summon him. If you have something in your deck you want a Foolish Burial, which in this build I'm not really running anything that you would Foolish Burial. However, you Foolish Burial something, then you give both players a token, and then you make your Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star using him and the token. And then we're on 3 copies of Mekk-Knight Avram. Avram or another spell I'm running in this deck could easily be cut if you want to play more combo-oriented Mekk-Knights. But he's in here to also help you climb into Morning Star. And that is it for the Mekk-Knight monsters. Next, we are on 3 copies of World Legacy Scars. Scars gives you the ability to loot, so you pitch a card from your hand, draw a card. Really, really solid. And then you can banish 8 Mekk-Knights with different names from your field or your graveyard in order to send your opponent's entire hand and extra deck to the graveyard. Now against certain decks, that's a very detrimental effect, because if you're playing against Dogmatica, they don't care about their extra deck, and you're just going to give them a million searches. Playing against Drytron, same kind of deal, minus the fact that Drytron does want Mubeta Fafnir. However, against Kashtira, doing that kind of hurts because you put a bunch of stuff in the graveyard and you get rid of their entire extra deck, and I know they have some decent extra deck monsters they want to be able to make. Next, I'm on 2 copies of World Legacy Key. World Legacy Key lets you recur a Mekk-Knight back to your hand from your banished or from graveyard. Oh no, it's just from banish. My bad. It only recurs from banish, but if a trap is in the same column as World Legacy Key, you negate it. Or not as a World Legacy, as a Mekk-Knight monster. If a Mekk-Knight monster is in the same column as a trap, you negate the trap. So this is what I mean. All of these have effects where you're going to negate something if a Mekk-Knight is in the same column as it. And then for the most important one to see, 3 copies of World Legacy Secrets. Secrets is the monster negate, and it's also Call of the Haunted. Okay, sorry. This is Call of the Haunted. Whenever it's activated, you target a level 5 or higher in your graveyard, special summon it, and then if a monster is in the same column as a Mekk-Knight, you negate its effects. And then we're on 1 copy of World Legacy Whispers. World Legacy Whispers is the spell negate, but it's also a combat trick. You give one of your monsters 1,000 attack, and then, anytime a spell is activated in the same column as a Mekk-Knight, you negate it. All of these are searchable, so you can side them in and out as see fit. So that is it for the Mekk-Knight archetypal cards, including the World Legacy cards. Now we're going to get into the more generic cards. The 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This card is fairly cheap right now, mainly because it's been seeing a lot of structure deck reprints. This is almost a mainstay in being reprinted in structure decks, and lo and behold, it was a Trap Trick structure deck reprint. These are my Ultras from Dual Devastators, so these are actually, I think the hollow ones are always going to be fairly expensive, but that is it for the generic monsters. Now we're going to move on to the spells, starting us with 3 copies of World Legacy Succession. Succession is Monster Reborn, but you summon the monster to a zone a link monster points to. Then I'm also on 3 copies of Unexpected Die. So I would replace this with the Mekk-Knight Quick Play spell. I just could not find my copies of it before making the deck profile, and I also forgot to buy them. But this should be the Mekk-Knight Quick Play spell, or the World Legacy Quick Play spell that summons Mekk-Knight from the deck. I know people are probably going to say something about it in the comments, so I'm addressing it now. I would highly recommend playing the World Legacy Quick Play spell that summons a Mekk-Knight from the deck over Unexpected Die. This is in here because it summons Abram from the deck and doesn't force you to use your normal summon, and it allows you to make certain cards in the extra deck that climb you into Morning Star. Then I'm on 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance because a lot of the extra deck is just kind of there to be there and you don't need it all. I would recommend playing Prosperity over Extra, but Prosperity is $150 for a playset. So if you can't afford that, don't worry about it. Play Extra. It's like $1 a piece at the lowest. And then I'm on 1 copy of Terraforming and 1 copy of Called by the Grave in order to search scars and prevent your opponent from interacting with the board via Ash Blossom, or if your opponent shotguns, like if you open this and your opponent shotguns Dimensional Shifter, you can Called by the Shifter because Shifter forces, or Shifter discards his cost, as do most hand traps. So you can always turn off your opponent's Shifter as well. And that is it for the main deck. It is time to get into the extra deck and side deck. And if you guys are wondering, wow, he just randomly has a jacket on now. No, I've had a jacket on this whole time. I just had the sleeves rolled up because This is how the sleeves are normally. And, yeah. Anyways, starting us off in the extra deck, we have 3 copies of Morning Star. Whenever it is Link summoned, you discard a Mekk-Knight or World Legacy card from your hand to then search for a World Legacy card. So, let's say you summon this and you have multiple copies of, like, Secrets in your hand. You can pitch one of your multiple copies of Secrets and search for your one of Continuous Trap or one of your 2 copies of World Legacy Key, so on and so forth. Next, we're on 2 copies of Spectrum Supreme. This is one that I really wouldn't worry about playing. It's mainly in here for if you do get the option to go down the combo line that allows you to basically rip everything away from your opponent, because it's one of your names that you're going to need. And then on top of that, it can attack directly, so it is a little bit of a clock. And that's really all you need to know. Its effects are really kind of blah. And then we're on 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax. Avermax is just a really hard card to deal with. You're not summoning this very often in the deck because it requires 2 monsters summoned from the extra deck. This card is much easier to summon in Pendulum, so keep that in mind. This deck is not going to be summoning this guy very often. Then we are on 1 copy of Griffin, which is Purple Nightfall mutated into a Nightmare. 1 copy of Unicorn, which is yellow mutated into a Nightmare. Then we're on 1 copy of Phoenix, which is Red Moon, or whatever his name is, mutated into a Nightmare. And then we're on 1 copy of Cerberus, which is Orange Sunset, mutated into a Nightmare. If you guys don't know the lore, the Nightmares are basically the Mekk-Knights, but changed into monsters by Ibli. Or not Ib, by Lee, the little fairy from World Chalice, because, well, lore, anime, that's basically all you gotta know. And there's 2 of them that are banned currently, and that's Mermaid, which is the Blue Sky Nightmare, and then Goblin, which is the Green Horizon Nightmare. Those are both banned because their effects are completely oppressive and annoying to play against. So I'm going to move on before I get too deep into this. We're on 1 copy of Link Spider because Link Spider is used with your Avram in order to help you climb into your Morning Star. Then I'm on 1 Apollosa and 1 copy of Borrelsword Dragon because game enders and negates are the name of the game. And then I'm on 1 copy of number 38 because there are some rare situations where you can make this, or you can make your Baguska and just kind of sit on your plan B. And that is it for the extra deck. Now we're going to move on to the side deck. Starting us off in the side deck, we have our 2 copies of Yellow Star. Because if you're in a back row matchup, you're going to want to see your Yellow Star. Yellow Star is very important in the back row matchup. And then we are on 1 copy of Red Moon in the side for the more monster-heavy matchups. So if your opponent's playing a lot of back row, or like I said, if you're playing against Trap Tricks, Yellow Star kind of hurts that deck or forces certain things out from them, so that you can continue to control the board via columns. But I'm going to be honest with you, most of the time when you're playing against Trap Tricks, if you flip the continuous, or if you get the continuous spell that turns off traps in the same column as a Mekk-Knight, you're probably just going to win that game. So yeah, next I'm on 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. Lancia is in here for the Kashtira matchup. You can discard it. Neither player can banish. Self-explanatory. And then we are on 3 copies of Lava Golem, because Lava Golem is really good in the Kashtira matchup. It's really good in basically any matchup where you're not going to need your normal summon. So I highly recommend playing the Lava Golems currently, because it takes away your normal summon, but like I said, you're not normal summoning this much or that much in this deck, regardless. And then I have 3 Book of Moon in here, but this should be Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is really good against the Kashtira matchup, and that's really all it is. And then I'm on 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, for if you need that extra little interruption going second. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that you could interchange in and out is probably the normal monster, or the Avram, and not the Avramax, but like Avram himself in the main deck, and Unexpected Die. And with that being said, I'm going to cut really quick so that way I can reorganize everything and do the outro. And with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the end of the video. If you guys don't know, I'm on the race to 150 subscribers before July 6th of this year. It is my birthday, and I would love to hit 150 subscribers either for my birthday or before my birthday. Either way, it'll work. Also, I live stream every Thursday. I'm currently doing a Minecraft series with the Fossils and Archaeology mod, along with another dinosaur-based mod pack. And if you're seeing this video, check to make sure I'm not live. And if you guys keep coming back to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Like I said, a race to 150 right now. And with that all finally being said and out of the way, the intro is now finally out of the way, I will see you all either in my stream or in the next one. Peace.